The Galactic Council convened within the grand celestial chambers of Zoran 9. Representatives from the 14 most advanced species in the galaxy gathered around a holographic map, displaying the latest reconnaissance data. At the center of this data was Earth, the small, pale blue dot with a population barely reaching the cosmic stage of technological advancement. Zygor, the chief coordinator of the council, floated towards the assembled delegates, his cyan body glowing under the artificial sunlight of the dome. "We have received troubling reports regarding our cloaked scout ships monitoring Earth." He gestured toward the holographic map. Multiple red dots blinked around the Earth's atmosphere. "These ships are invisible to all known forms of detection, and yet—" Glynn, the avian delegate from the Taloran Empire, flapped his wings in impatience. "Yet what, Zygor?" "They are being seen," replied Zygor gravely. A murmur of disbelief spread through the chamber. Glynn, his feathers ruffled, scoffed. "How is that possible?" "The humans can see them," Zygor said, emphasizing each word with deliberate clarity. A silence fell upon the delegates. Finar, the reptilian ambassador of the Gaul collective, hissed, "Humans have not evolved sensory abilities beyond the basic electromagnetic spectrum. Their instruments are primitive. How could they possibly detect our ships?" "The evidence is undeniable," Zygor said. "Reports from our scouts indicate that humans are spotting and recording footage of our cloaked vessels. We must investigate this phenomenon further." The council members were stunned. For millennia, their ships had remained undetected by countless species, their cloaking technology unbreachable. And now, a primitive species from an insignificant planet could see them. Krathok, the representative of the Gorash Federation, a species known for their aggressive territorial instincts, spoke up. "And what of the secrecy of our operations? If humans have truly detected our cloaked vessels, our presence could spark panic among them." The Grand Chamber murmured in agreement. Lura, a psychic diplomat from the Seraphim Syndicate, raised her hand gently. "Perhaps we overestimate the humans' abilities. They may have only captured fleeting glimpses or anomalies." Zygor waved a tentacle through the holographic map, and the projection shifted to show the footage collected by scout vessels. It displayed shaky but clear recordings of the Council's cloaked ships, dark silhouettes against the twilight sky, distorted by shimmering waves as light bent around the invisible hulls. The room fell silent as the delegates absorbed the implications. Finar hissed, his eyes narrowing. "We cannot dismiss this. The humans have discovered a vulnerability in our cloaking technology. If their knowledge spreads, it could compromise our monitoring of other planets." The silence was broken by Glynn's agitated screech. "What shall we do, Zygor? Must we retreat?" Zygor exhaled deeply, his cyan aura pulsing with measured deliberation. "Retreat may be the safest option for now, but first, we must investigate how they are detecting us. Our scouts will need to analyze their detection methods from a distance, remaining hidden beyond the orbit of their moon." Krathok's scales glistened with frustration. "We cannot ignore this. We should consider more aggressive measures to contain their information." Lura shook her head. "Violence would only confirm their fears of alien invasion. Our actions must be measured." After a tense debate, the council finally agreed on Zygor's plan. Scout ships would be temporarily withdrawn, and a team of specialists would be dispatched to Earth's orbit to investigate the humans' detection methods. The plan seemed sound, and most delegates felt a sense of relief. As the council members began to disperse, Zygor remained behind, quietly observing the Earth on the holographic display. He knew that the humans had surprised them once already. If there was one thing he had learned from this meeting, it was not to underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. "We will see how far they can go," he muttered to himself. In the next chamber, the Council's special investigation team prepared for their departure. Their objective? Learn how humans could see the invisible, and ensure the Council would never again be caught off guard. Meanwhile, on Earth, in a modest observatory atop the hills of California, Dr. Laura McKinley and her assistant, Jamal Harris, were about to make their next remarkable discovery. Meanwhile, on Earth, in a modest observatory atop the hills of California, Dr. Laura McKinley and her assistant, Jamal Harris, examined their latest footage. They were both astrophysicists at the forefront of atmospheric research. Their telescopic lenses had picked up bizarre silhouettes gliding across the night sky. "There it is again," Jamal pointed to the screen. "Look at that strange distortion." Laura adjusted her glasses and zoomed in on the recorded image. "It's as if light is bending around an invisible object." Jamal leaned back in his chair, bewildered. "A cloaking field?" "Or something like it," Laura agreed. "But this field is not perfect. There's some sort of energy bleed, like a shimmering heat haze." The two scientists had been analyzing strange atmospheric phenomena for months, and the strange silhouettes they were capturing seemed to defy logical explanation. Laura, always methodical, started to catalog their findings meticulously, creating a comprehensive database. "What if it's some sort of extraterrestrial surveillance?" Jamal proposed one late night, his voice tinged with excitement. "Or classified government aircraft," Laura countered. "But whatever it is, it's definitely not natural." The next evening, Laura uploaded the footage to the internet, sharing it with other researchers across the world. Within days, similar sightings were reported from different corners of the globe. Astronomers, scientists, and curious enthusiasts banded together to analyze the anomalies. They created a worldwide network, sharing observations and data through encrypted channels. These data points formed patterns, revealing specific locations where these invisible ships appeared most frequently. The emerging evidence pointed to something unprecedented: cloaked alien vessels operating in Earth's atmosphere. After reviewing hours of footage, Laura and Jamal identified that the distortions seemed to be most visible in the infrared and ultraviolet spectrums. "What if we use multispectral imaging?" Jamal suggested. "We could get a clearer picture." "It's worth a try," Laura agreed. They installed specialized filters on their telescopes and borrowed high-frequency detectors from the physics department. By combining multiple wavelengths, they were able to create composite images that revealed the invisible ships in greater detail. "It's like finding a needle in a haystack," Laura explained during a televised interview. "But once you know what to look for, the pattern becomes clear." The images caused a sensation among scientists and the general public alike. For the first time, humanity had tangible evidence of extraterrestrial surveillance. Several governments tried to suppress the findings, but the evidence was too compelling to ignore. The United Nations held emergency meetings to discuss the implications, and leading scientific organizations started independent investigations. One particular image captured the public's imagination: a silhouette of a massive ship floating high above the Pacific Ocean, with faint glowing patterns hinting at an otherworldly design. News outlets around the world speculated about the intentions of the unseen visitors. Were they explorers, conquerors, or something else entirely? Fear and curiosity swept the globe. Back in the observatory, Laura and Jamal received a flood of requests for interviews and collaborations. They were hailed as heroes in scientific circles and scrutinized by skeptics and conspiracy theorists. One evening, after a long day of interviews, Jamal sighed and turned to Laura. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" Laura looked up from her telescope with weary but determined eyes. "The truth, Jamal, and the truth is worth it." With the growing pressure from public opinion and international governments, Laura and Jamal held a global conference to share their findings openly. Scientists, diplomats, and journalists gathered to hear them present their research. "As scientists, our role is to pursue the truth," Laura began, "and we believe that we are not alone in the universe." She explained how they had used multispectral imaging to reveal the invisible ships and detailed the patterns of sightings across the globe. "These ships appear to be observing us," Laura concluded. "Their intentions are unknown, but their presence cannot be denied." The audience was captivated. Some were skeptical, but most were convinced that this was the most significant discovery in human history. After the conference, Laura and Jamal's findings were picked up by news channels across the globe, leading to a public outcry for governments to investigate further. As the footage circulated online, amateur astronomers and UFO enthusiasts began scanning the skies, hoping to catch a glimpse of the cloaked ships. The public fascination with the invisible ships reached a fever pitch, and Laura and Jamal became the unwilling faces of humanity's quest to understand these mysterious visitors. Unbeknownst to them, their work had also drawn the attention of another group, the Special Investigation Team dispatched by the Galactic Council. From their hidden orbit beyond the moon, the alien team analyzed the humans' research, astonished by the speed with which they had adapted their technology. "Fascinating," murmured Zorak, the lead investigator. "They have identified the energy bleed from our cloaking fields. These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated." "Should we proceed with direct intervention?" asked Rael, the second in command. Zorak shook his head. "Not yet. Let's observe them further. We need to understand how deeply their knowledge runs." As Laura and Jamal worked tirelessly to uncover more clues, the invisible eyes of the Galactic Council watched closely, waiting to see how far humanity would go. Back on Zoran 9, the Council reviewed the reports from their Earth-based agents. Humans were indeed sharing images and videos of their cloaked scout ships. The chamber was filled with agitation and disbelief as the representatives convened for an emergency session. "It is unacceptable," bellowed Krathok, the representative from the Gorash Federation. His leathery scales bristled with anger. "This compromises the secrecy of our operations." Zygor nodded solemnly. "Indeed, if humans continue to observe us, it could lead to greater complications." "What do you propose?" asked Glynn, the avian delegate from the Taloran Empire. He perched nervously on a metal railing, his bright plumage fluffed in agitation. "We must adapt our technology to eliminate this vulnerability. In the meantime, the scouts will be withdrawn from Earth's immediate vicinity," Zygor replied. The Council reluctantly agreed. However, before any changes could be implemented, Finar made a grim revelation. His forked tongue flickered through the air as he addressed the assembly. "Our cloaking technology may not be the only concern." Zygor turned to him. "What do you mean?" "The humans are communicating with each other at an unprecedented rate. Their internet is more interconnected than anything we have seen before. If they share their findings widely, other species may become aware of our presence." The Council erupted in panic and disbelief. To make matters worse, Laura and Jamal's findings had been picked up by news channels across the globe, leading to a public outcry for governments to investigate further. "Humans are dangerous," snarled Krathok. "Their technology is primitive, but their networking capabilities could unite them against us." "We must suppress this information," Glynn squawked. "If the humans believe we mean them harm, it could lead to unpredictable consequences." Zygor raised a tentacle to silence the chamber. "A more nuanced approach is required. We cannot risk direct intervention. The humans are not technologically advanced enough to pose an immediate threat, but they have revealed a vulnerability in our approach." "What do you propose?" asked Glynn cautiously. "We must initiate direct contact with the humans," Zygor said. "It's time to establish diplomatic relations before panic spreads further." Lura, the psychic diplomat from the Seraphim Syndicate, raised a slender hand. "And what if they react with hostility?" "Then we will know their true intentions," Zygor replied calmly. "But I believe they will respond favorably to peaceful overtures." The council members murmured uneasily, and a few still opposed the idea of revealing themselves openly. But Zygor's persuasive authority won over the majority. "Prepare an envoy," he ordered. "We will send a diplomatic delegation to Earth." Krathok sneered. "And who will lead this delegation?" "I will," Zygor said with finality. The next day, a Galactic Council emissary ship, cloaked in a reinforced energy field, descended into Earth's atmosphere. It hovered above the Pacific Ocean, just outside of human detection range. From this ship, a smaller, more discreet shuttle emerged, piloted by Zygor himself. His mission was to secure a meeting with Dr. Laura McKinley and her team. In California, Laura was working late into the night at the observatory when she noticed a strange glow outside. Jamal was packing up equipment when he noticed her standing still, staring out the window. "What's up?" he asked. Laura pointed to the horizon, where a small glowing orb was descending. "That." Jamal rushed over and squinted at the approaching light. "Is that a drone?" "Too bright for a drone," Laura muttered, "and moving too fast." They watched as the orb grew closer, and then, remarkably, landed gently on the observatory grounds. The glow subsided, revealing a sleek silver vessel about the size of a minivan. Laura and Jamal stood frozen in awe. The ship's side opened with a faint hiss, revealing a tall, luminescent figure floating gracefully toward them. Zygor's cayenne aura cast eerie shadows over the observatory. "Greetings," Zygor said in perfect English, his voice melodic through a universal translator. "I am Zygor, representative of the Galactic Council." Laura and Jamal exchanged bewildered glances before Laura finally found her voice. We are honored to meet you." Zygor floated closer, his luminescence softening. "I understand that your discoveries have raised many questions among your people." Laura nodded slowly. "That's putting it mildly." "We come in peace," Zygor assured them. "Our scout ships were deployed to study Earth and observe its development. We had no intention of interfering with your civilization." Jamal crossed his arms, skeptical. "But you're still here, watching us." Zygor tilted his head. "Indeed, but our council acknowledges that our presence should have been more transparent. We wish to establish peaceful relations and share our scientific knowledge." Laura, sensing a historic opportunity, extended her hand cautiously. "We would like that." Zygor floated forward and gently took her hand in one of his tendrils. "Excellent. We would like to propose a meeting with your global representatives to formalize our relations." Laura's heart raced with excitement. "We'll arrange it." As Zygor returned to his shuttle and ascended back into the sky, Laura and Jamal were left speechless on the observatory lawn. They knew this moment would change everything. The next morning, Laura contacted the United Nations to arrange a historic summit between humanity and the Galactic Council. Representatives from across the world would convene in New York City to meet with Zygor and his delegation. Humanity stood on the precipice of a new era, where the invisible would finally be seen and the unknown would be embraced. User. The Galactic Council deployed their best scientists to develop a countermeasure. Within weeks, a new cloaking field was tested, supposedly impenetrable to all forms of human detection. The Council believed that humanity would soon be unable to see their invisible ships again. But just as the Council prepared to redeploy their scouts, disaster struck. In the dim light of her observatory, Dr. Laura McKinley received a message from one of her international colleagues, Dr. Shiro Tanaka, an astrophysicist at the University of Tokyo. The subject line read, "You need to see this." The message contained a video recorded by a probe launched by the Japanese Space Agency to study the outer atmosphere. In the video, a massive, shimmering shape loomed above the Atlantic Ocean. Despite the new cloaking field, the ship remained detectable by infrared and ultraviolet sensors, emitting a faint signature like a heat haze against the darkness of space. "It's enormous," Jamal muttered as they watched the footage. "How big do you think that is?" "Several kilometers at least," Laura replied, zooming in on the shape. "But the cloaking field isn't holding up in the higher frequencies." "They upgraded the field, but it's still leaky," Jamal added thoughtfully. "What do you think it's doing?" Laura couldn't tear her eyes away from the screen. "Observing us." She wasted no time in sharing the new footage with other researchers and the media. Within hours, the image of the massive invisible ship had gone viral, confirming the worst fears of skeptics and the curious alike. The world's attention turned to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where diplomats and scientists were preparing to meet with Zygor and the Galactic Council delegation. As the delegates and scientists assembled in a secure room, Zygor floated at the head of the table, his cayenne aura glowing softly. His team consisted of Lura, the psychic diplomat from the Seraphim Syndicate, and Glynn, the avian delegate from the Taloran Empire. Dr. Laura McKinley sat across from them, flanked by representatives of the United Nations. At her side was Dr. Shiro Tanaka, who had flown in to assist with the negotiations. Zygor began. "Greetings, esteemed representatives of Earth. We have come to share our knowledge and to learn from your people." The tension in the room was palpable, and many delegates eyed the alien delegation warily. Dr. McKinley cleared her throat and spoke up. "Zygor, the recent footage of your cloaked ship above the Atlantic has sparked widespread concern. Can you explain your presence and intentions?" Zygor inclined his head. "Indeed. Our ship, the Arcasis, was deployed to monitor Earth's development from orbit. We regret any distress this has caused." Tanaka interjected, "And your cloaking technology? How do you explain its failure to conceal your ships?" Glynn, the avian delegate, ruffled his feathers and croaked in reply. "We did not anticipate that your species would possess such advanced imaging capabilities." Lura raised her hand and added softly, "Our intentions have always been peaceful. We only sought to observe without interference." A skeptical murmur rippled through the human delegates, and an American representative leaned forward. "Your intentions may be peaceful, but your secrecy is causing global panic." Zigor nodded gravely. "We understand. Therefore, we propose an agreement. We will share some of our scientific advancements with humanity and be more transparent about our activities on Earth." The murmurs subsided, and Laura listened intently. "In return," Zygor continued, "we ask that you work with us to establish peaceful relations and maintain the secrecy of some of our operations." Laura exchanged glances with Dr. Tanaka, who nodded subtly. She then addressed Zygor directly. "What scientific advancements are you willing to share?" Zygor's cayenne aura pulsed gently as he replied, "We can provide advancements in renewable energy, medical research, and agricultural development." One of the European delegates leaned forward. "And what do you mean by secrecy of your operations?" Glynn ruffled his feathers and spoke with a sharp beak. "We refer to our scientific monitoring activities across the galaxy, which include observations of many developing species. Not all are as receptive to our presence as you." Laura sensed the delicate balance that was being struck. "If we agree to this, we must also address the concerns of our global population. The invisible ships hovering above Earth cannot continue to do so without raising suspicion." Zygor nodded gravely. "We will withdraw our scout ships from Earth's immediate vicinity. However, a small diplomatic presence will remain to facilitate communication between our species." The room grew silent as the representatives considered the implications of this historic meeting. Finally, the Secretary General of the United Nations stood and addressed the assembly. "We have heard your proposal, Zygor. If we can establish a framework that satisfies both parties, then we believe that a peaceful partnership is possible." The meeting concluded with an agreement to form a joint commission consisting of scientists and diplomats from both Earth and the Galactic Council. Laura McKinley was appointed as humanity's chief liaison to the Council, and Dr. Tanaka agreed to assist her. After the meeting, Laura and Jamal stood outside the UN building reflecting on the day's events. "Well," Jamal said, "we just negotiated with aliens." Laura nodded. "And it's only the beginning." Back on Zoran 9, the Council held an emergency session to discuss the aftermath of the meeting. The chamber was filled with frantic murmurs and arguments. "This is an invasion of privacy," Krathok snarled. "The humans have outsmarted us," Finar hissed. "We underestimated them." Zygor silenced the delegates. "We must proceed with caution. They are not technologically advanced enough to pose an immediate threat, but they have revealed a vulnerability in our approach." "What do you propose?" asked Glynn. "We must initiate diplomatic relations with the humans," Zygor said. "It's time to establish peaceful relations before panic spreads further." The Council reluctantly agreed and approved the establishment of a permanent diplomatic mission on Earth. As the Galactic Council adjusted its strategies and redoubled its efforts to strengthen its cloaking technology, Laura and her team worked tirelessly to prepare humanity for its first formal contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. Meanwhile, humans worldwide were beginning to adapt to a new reality, one where the invisible was no longer hidden and the mysterious was finally becoming known. User, a week later, in a classified meeting room of the United Nations in New York City, Dr. Laura McKinley sat across from representatives of the Galactic Council. Zygor floated at the head of the table, his cayenne aura glowing softly. Lura, Glynn, and Finar stood beside him, representing the Galactic Council's diplomatic mission. Around the room sat delegates from the world's major powers, along with scientists like Dr. Shiro Tanaka and Jamal Harris, who had been instrumental in the discovery of the invisible ships. "Greetings, Dr. McKinley," Zygor spoke through a universal translator. "I represent the Galactic Council." Laura remained calm, despite the surreal situation. "It's an honor to meet you. I believe we have much to discuss." "Indeed," Zygor replied. "Our scout ships were deployed to study Earth and observe its development. We had no intention of interfering with your civilization." Laura nodded slowly. "We understand, but your cloaked presence has caused widespread concern among the global population. People are afraid." "We acknowledge our oversight," Zygor admitted. "We wish to establish peaceful relations with humanity and share our scientific knowledge. Our cloaking technology will no longer be used in Earth's atmosphere." One of the delegates leaned forward and spoke up. "What assurances can you give us that your intentions are peaceful?" Zygor inclined his head. "In addition to withdrawing our cloaked vessels from your immediate vicinity, we are willing to establish a joint commission for scientific collaboration. We also offer advancements in renewable energy, medicine, and agriculture." Dr. Tanaka cleared his throat. "What about your surveillance of other developing species?" Lura, the psychic diplomat, answered softly. "We observe developing species across the galaxy to study their evolution and development. Our observations are non-invasive, and our goal is to prevent interference." A representative from the European Union raised a concern. "But how can we be sure that you won't interfere with our society?" Glynn stepped forward, his feathers glistening under the fluorescent lights. "We have protocols in place to ensure non-interference. However, our scientific studies have revealed that Earth is on the cusp of significant technological advancements. We believe that establishing diplomatic relations will ensure a smoother transition into the galactic community." Zygor floated closer to the table and addressed the assembly directly. "Let us be clear. Our presence here is to foster peaceful cooperation and knowledge exchange. We offer technological advancements and scientific collaboration, but we ask that our presence remain discreet." Laura exchanged glances with Dr. Tanaka and then spoke up. "If we agree to this partnership, will you commit to full transparency with our scientific community?" "Yes," Zygor answered. "We will share our knowledge with your scientific community and establish a research facility to work together." After hours of negotiations, the Assembly reached a historic agreement. The Galactic Council would share certain technological advancements in exchange for cooperation and open dialogue between species. Laura and Jamal became humanity's liaisons to the stars, advocating for peaceful exploration. The Joint Commission was established, and construction began on a state-of-the-art research facility in California's Mojave Desert. Scientists from around the world collaborated with the Galactic Council's researchers, led by Lura and Glynn. The advancements provided by the Galactic Council revolutionized several industries on Earth. Renewable energy. The introduction of quantum-based energy converters allowed for near-infinite energy generation using cosmic radiation and solar power. Medical research. Council scientists shared advanced genetic engineering techniques, resulting in cures for previously incurable diseases and extending human lifespans. Agriculture. Hydroponic technology and genetically modified crops solved global food shortages, reducing hunger worldwide. Meanwhile, Laura and Jamal coordinated the joint research efforts and ensured transparency in the Council's operations. They appeared frequently on news channels and at global conferences, explaining the work being done and the progress made. However, not all humans welcomed the new era with open arms. Anti-alien groups emerged, fearing that humanity was giving up too much control to the Galactic Council. Protests erupted in several cities, demanding the withdrawal of the alien delegation. Laura, Jamal, and Zygor worked tirelessly to address these concerns, advocating for transparency and inclusivity. "We must build trust," Zygor said during one interview. "Our partnership with humanity relies on mutual respect and understanding." The Galactic Council took a sobering lesson from their encounter with humans. They began enhancing their cloaking technology and carefully re-evaluating their reconnaissance practices on other developing planets. No longer would they assume primitive species couldn't see the invisible. In the end, the Galactic Council was shocked, not just because humans could see their ships, but because humans were far more ingenious and adaptable than they had ever anticipated. And so, the universe stepped into a new era, one where humans stood at the threshold, gazing boldly into the cosmos. Years later, the first joint human Galactic Council starship, the Voyager, embarked on a mission to explore the outer reaches of the solar system. Laura and Jamal were aboard as chief scientists, and Zygor served as the liaison officer. The ship's crew was a mix of humans and council members, all dedicated to exploring the unknown together. As the Voyager left Earth's orbit, Laura stood by the observation window, looking down at the pale blue dot that had brought them together. "What do you think is out there?" Jamal asked. Laura smiled softly. "Everything, and we'll discover it together." Zygor floated up beside them, his cayenne aura glowing warmly. "A new era begins." The stars awaited, and humanity was no longer alone.